Remember, Iesu took off to the Pleiades, and Enlil took off back to the Syrian Orion palace, which Anu's hanging out over there. And Ishtar and Marduk ruled for a while. That's your Egyptian religion, which is going to come back and rear its ugly head. You have the reptilian eye on the American dollar, and you have the Isis eye as well too. This I've put up on, it'll be November the 12th. I'll do a story on the details about the reptilian bloodline, so look at Canadastreetnews.com for that. But remember, Yahweh, the ones that are loyal to Yahweh and worship on the Sabbath day are the Enlilites, which are the Iburus. Nibiru is the Planet X, which is this big flagship that comes in every 3,600 years. Enlil, jealous of the Adapus race because Ea created it, and it was quite independent, and Enlil couldn't control it. It would not obey because it didn't want to be enslaved. Remember, he didn't care, and he let them die in a flood during that time, because when Planet X comes in, it pulls on the earth just like the moon would too, but in a heavier way, and all these earth changes came, so he made sure that this Adamus race, because they had the bird DNA much more evolved, and the Adamus race was the one that got kicked out of the garden because they were too busy fooling around and being creative and wouldn't listen to Enlil, so they were called Adamus. They're the birds of the feather. That's the native Indian tribes that tend to have more feather. Remember, the Asians have more rep DNA, which is the dragon, that's what they worship, and then the whites have more Canis dog star DNA. So human race has all three DNAs, which makes us very special in the eyes of all the other ETs, which are kind of staring at us, and because we've caught their attention, we have these nuclear explosions now, which is creating havoc in the dimensions. So they have our attention now, and remember, we have every right to claim the earth as long as we make sure that we don't make ETs or gods as our higher powers. We need to find the I am in ourselves, the I, which is the male brain, and the am, which is the heart female, in ourselves, claim our throne as the rightful heirs to planet Earth. And Iesu came back through the Syrian bloodline. He was one of the initiates, and the people thought themselves that they could merge this, so they took the Orion. That's why you had the Magi at Jesus' birth, Yeshua's birth. They knew that he was special. He could claim the throne for humanity one day and teach them the truth. Because I'm going back again. When Ra and Isis ruled in the Egyptian religion after Ea and Anki took off to the skies, the Shetty lizards were enslaved. Ra and Isis changed all the history books, and in order to get rid of our memories, we'd have to go into the light when we died, and they reprogrammed us. The Shetty lizards are very good at that. That's the Illuminati bloodline that you see now, with the all the lizard symbols and stuff too. So what they did was they managed to kick Ra out. I guess he took off to Venus, because I would say that's the same as Lucifer. He's the fallen angel, and he's hiding out in Shambhala right now, which is you can call him Sanat Kumra, Ancient of Days. They look this, and they shapeshift. They are actually reptilian. They're very tall humanoids, very good looking. They glow because they're the monoatomic gold technology. So you will see them soon as ascended masters. Ass-ended masters, Satan Kumra, Sananda, Isu Emmanuel, Maitreya. So all those guys are going to come back as the world religious leaders, and they are the deceivers that the Bible talks about. So if you're not up on any kind of background in Christianity, or I would say the Muslim faith is familiar with the Dajjal and the Antichrist coming back too. I've noticed that with the Terra papers too, the Muslim faith was actually to protect the Iesu bloodline, which is the royal bloodline. Now the Romans, remember, were not friends of the Iesu tribe. If you ever remember, the Romans had their Colosseums and they wiped out Christianity totally. The only reason that they adopted Christianity was for political power, because they needed to control the earth. So Constantine wanted to be a sun god. Paul took Iesu's teachings, who was an original disciple, Paul, and screwed everything up. This is according to Terra Papers too. And so you have this religion that is based on Romanism, and everything's changed to worship Ra and Ishtar, which is Isis. So they're coming back first to claim their own. Anybody who buys into it, a lot of atheists will buy into it. So there's not going to be too many people left, just the chosen ones, I guess, the ones that are scattered in the wilderness in the last days, the ones that know what's coming down. A lot of women are in the churches. The guys, I hopefully, if they haven't connected with their I am, their wholeness, and be humble, like Yesu was, a humble teacher, their ego might get to them, and they will buy into this alien agenda, get microchipped, or be raptured, or ascend, or whatever they want to call it, and be taken out as we are left on Earth to rebuild. So these are alien things that are coming. I've mentioned them a bit in November the 4th stuff, but I'm trying to get through this whole Terra Papers 1, Terra Papers 2, so I've been trying to for a couple of weeks now, so I want to get through it today. So remember that the Iesus now are teachers of the Adamist race. They are left here. Ra and Ishtar wanted to reprogram everything. All our history books have been changed. All our religions are, because of the Raman faction. They were kicked out eventually, and the lizards just kept business as usual. They figured the more confusion that people can have, that would be fine. Wars are good because they feed off our fear. This is the Greys, which are the Shetty lizards. And we have the Alpha Draconis, which nobody talks about anymore. They're too afraid. They've been threatened to. But that is your Ancient of Days, your dog-lizard combination, which is you might call him Pindar, you can call him Lucifer, Cain, all that stuff. Those are the fallen angels that mated with man and produced the Nephilim, and that is with the Lilith clan. So I would think that would be the first Adamist race. But Ishtar, Isis, and Lilith are the same ones, same person who tried to seduce Enlil, which is her grandfather. She screwed everybody. Anu, and then Ea, and then went after her, the youngest son, Dumuzi, killed him off because she wanted to rule one day, and so she's coming back because she's vowing to rule. And this is a dark-haired one. This is the creator of Cain, and also with Ra. So you'll see Isis and Ra, and Horus, which is the child, and a lot of ruling and murdering and stuff too. But they did a lot of inbreeding, and I'm pretty sure that was Atlantis at that time. You had Lemuria, which was more free. I think the Adamist race took off there and had their own colonies, and Atlantis was doing all this hybridization in order to rule. Okay, so later the Shetty lizards themselves overthrew Ra in Egypt and kept the Ra legions, which is the religions. In the alien wars, the Illuminati lizard race is now going to be at war with the returning Isis, Ra, and Ishtar. The UFO agenda is going to be introduced to humanity before the end of 2009, says Nasara International, which kicked me off because I reported on them in November. I did it recently. So when they were talking about it, could have been October, I don't have it. Just go through the cram notes, you'll find them on Canadastreetnews.com, important downloads. So the creator Ra is coming back, and Yeshua is going to come back in the end. There's going to be a war. But the woman and the man-child is Magdalene and her son Bar-Rabbi. That would be the older one. He is the one that is the true bloodline, which is the royal bloodline of kings. He's the merged Syrian Orion child, and that he will rule. So this is what the Jews didn't believe, that the Messiah ever came, because they knew that Yesu died on the cross, but he didn't. I'm going to get back to that, but this is Terra Papers 2, because I'm down at that point. But so the deception's coming. Revelations is a go, it looks like, because nobody's waking up. And I think most of the guys who haven't been sitting in the churches or know anything about the Bible will buy into this. Especially when the economy collapses, many of the guys will be unemployed, and they're not going to know where to turn to. And if their egos are in the way, they're going to get bought out, sold